All right, welcome back. We're here for another episode of Two Plane Sports on this fine Friday. It's part of the Two Plane Nation. We're trying to grow as much as we can. I'm bringing that energy. I've been told I need to get a little more pep and talk and be a little more passionate, not be so monotone. I know I've seen multiple comments. Sometimes it becomes monotonous going through all this stuff. So I'm going to try to keep the energy and keep them going as well. So, but before we get into it, we're going to just say, we really appreciate it. We're growing. Our Twitter is going crazy. Spotify is going. Apple Podcasts. We're just now on Apple Podcasts. Go on there, follow us or whatever. Download. I don't know what you do on Apple Podcast. I'm a Spotify guy, but on Spotify, follow us there so you can see everything. So turn on the notification bell for YouTube because we do post at 9:30 in the morning, but the days vary. So it's just kind of up in the air depending on the news. So make sure to like this video, comment, and let us know what you think about these visitors that are coming this weekend. Who's recently transferred, and Tyler Guyton, and a few other things. We want to hear your opinion and what you think about this intro. Let me know if this is better and if you guys like this.
I think it's a great intro. I do want to say one thing before we move further. Great job. Yeah, great job. And I used to be a Spotify guy. I recently switched to Apple Music. So I'm learning the Apple game too. But for those of you who follow us on Twitter, we had the two plane sports group today. We had a pretty solid day. We had some big news, and Brum didn't tease that because he's bad at intros, but he's learning. So in about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks time, we're gonna have the three of us think at least a pretty damn big guest. And
we're up to something.
One you guys should be excited about. We're up to something. Stay tuned because that's gonna be a fun episode. If you guys like Sooner football and Sooner basketball, and it's going to be a good one.
Put your guesses in the comment section.
Yeah, put your guesses in the comments.
I'm going to say it's not a player, but it's someone that's very much either has played at OU or is very much associated with OU.
He's very much associated with OU. Big time.
So you guys let us know what you think. That's the beginning of video challenge. Brandon normally does the end of video challenge, but this is the beginning of video challenge. Let us know who you think it's going to be. But yeah, about 2.5 weeks or so, there will be a new video. Our first interview that we've ever done. So guys got to lock in for that. And, it's going to be a good one. So, all right, made it this far, subscribe. But anyway, today we're going to cover OU's Junior Days coming up this weekend, which is going to be a very big weekend. A lot of talent, a lot of local Oklahoma talent. For once, I feel like, this new staff is putting a high regard on all this Oklahoma local grown talent. And I think that's important. And we're going to talk about the recent transfer in Tyler Guyton, and then a little bit about Gracen Halton and a little bit about Gentry Williams. So the first guy we're going to cover today, as far as who's visiting this weekend, we're going to go through the list of everyone that's visiting that we know of at this point as we're recording this. The first guy is going to be Jacobe Johnson. So Jacobe Johnson, he's a 6'3", 183-pound athlete from Mustang, Oklahoma. So close to Norman, not far, just right down the road. He's a 4-star, number 118 overall, and the number 12 athlete in the class. He's actually the number 2 athlete in the state of Oklahoma in the 2023 class. A terrific athlete, and honestly, I think he has the potential to be a 5-star. He's really starting to come on. I think this next, his senior season coming up, he's going to show exactly what he is and what he can do. He's getting offers from big time programs. I feel like he's kind of come onto the scene in this past season. No one really knew about him, but he's become way more on the national radar. So Brandon, before we got on here, you told me you had a great story about him.
Yeah.
Let us know what you have.
I've had the pleasure the past 2 years, as you guys know, I worked the Mustang home games the past 2 years. For last year, I was a camera guy for them. This year, I directed their football games for their online cast or whatever. So this year, I actually had a pretty good view. I sat in the press box, watched every Mustang home game. There was one game, I can't remember exactly who they were playing, but the guy who used to coach at Oklahoma, I think he ran that half-ass wannabe speed D, kind of slow D. It was a very bad defense, but that guy was there, and he was there recruiting Jacobe Johnson, or scouting Jacobe Johnson, I should say. There's a 2-play sequence. Because he plays both offense and defense at Mustang. He plays corner on defense and kind of running back, receiver, wherever they need him on offense. On defense, the other team throws a deep ball. He goes up, one-hands it right in front of that guy who used to coach at us and comes down with an interception. Awesome. I think it was the next snap or the second snap after that when Mustang was on offense. They threw him a little he was in the flat as a running back. It was a shotgun formation. They threw it out of the flat, took it 98 yards, and housed it. The guy who used to coach at Oklahoma with his shit defense just straight up left after that. Like he had seen enough. It was cool to see at the time, but that guy left. He sucks. But Jacobe Johnson, man, that 2 plays in about a 5 or 6 minute real time sequence. Really cool to see. We were losing our minds in the press box. I didn't even care about Mustang football, but I was like, man, that was special. And that's just a brief little introduction of what that kid can do. And very excited to watch him next year as a senior season, which should be his best season as I'm going back to work Mustang games, and probably just for him at this point.
Probably. You're going to probably see us start seeing a lot more recruiters up in Mustang football games, but he's definitely a guy to keep an eye out over the next year because like Brum said, he's really starting to get on the national scene in recruiting. So we're probably going to see similar to Robert Spears Jennings. His rating might go up and he might eventually become a 5-star. Brum believes that he definitely could be, and it's possible. I mean, we don't get a final rankings from 247 until like a week and a half before the last national signing day. So this guy's got a while to get that last 5th star. Not that stars matter, but at the end of the day, it's pretty cool for them to say they're a 5-star recruit. In regards to like him as a player and his overall what he could be, I think key number 1 is if he plays on the defensive side of the ball, which from watching his highlights, that was mostly of what I saw. He can definitely play safety, and with his size, it's impressive that he can move so fast. He definitely needs to build up muscular, his overall muscle. He's kind of skinny, but he's 16, 17 years old. So he just like everyone else, get in the gym, in the weight room with Schmitty, he'll be fine. And by the time he gets to Oklahoma, if that's where he decides to go, probably might be closer to 200 pounds. Like I said, he's only like 16, 17 years old. There's still a lot of development for him to go through.
Yeah, for sure. And I believe he's a 2-sport athlete. I think he also is getting offers. I think he might have an offer. I'm just remembering off the top of my head. I believe he has an offer for basketball from Oklahoma as well.
He runs track too.
Yeah, I mean, he is a freak athlete and someone that OU has to lock in on. In recent memory, this 23 class, as far as Oklahoma high school football talent, is one of the best that we've seen in recent memory. And I'm going to tell you what, there is this next guy we're about to go over. I believe he will be a 5-star. I'm going to put it, I'm guaranteeing he's going to be a 5-star.
He got the Brum stamp guarantee, daddy.
Guarantee. So this guarantee for a 5-star by the end of this season, or this upcoming season, the 2022 to 23 season, is Bai Jobe. I believe that's how you say his name.
He is literally in our backyard.
Yeah, he's literally in our backyard. He's 6'4", 215 pounds. He's an edge rusher from Norman, Oklahoma. He plays at Community Christian School. I mean, he's literally in the backyard. 4-star, number 189 overall, and number 16 edge player in the class. And I'm going to tell you what, he played his first football season last year, his first one, and he had 16 and a half sacks.
How many was his first season?
First.
Yeah. So you said, just wanted to make
first sure. Football season, just making sure, 16 and a half sacks in his first year at high school varsity level. It's
absurd.
I mean, and he had 56 tackles as well. That is insane. I mean, if OU can't lock him down, I mean, he played basketball before. If OU can't lock him down and he is from Norman, Oklahoma, we got problems.
That's a bad look. I agree. So are we going to go out and say that he's priority 1 for you for this weekend as far as the kids can?
I think so. I'm most excited about him, and I think he is number 1 in my list. I mean, we always want more edge rushers, but I mean, he's 6'4", 215. You think about what he's going to be at 6'4", or maybe in 6'5", 245, 250. He's going to be a monster. And I bet he might even put up 20 sacks this upcoming football season. He is priority number 1 in my mind. Jackson Arnold's coming. I'm excited about Arnold, but I'm telling you, this kid Jobe is insane.
Yeah, and the fact that it was his first season to ever play football big deal. I'm just giving you just messing with you. I mean, it is impressive.
It is
though.
impressive,
like,
yeah.
He took to the sport easily. Like you can tell that just natural talent that he has. So like by the time he gets to play next year, he'll have so much more development. He'll understand the game of football a lot more and how he can, use his hands to get past the offensive lineman. Then by the time he gets to college, wherever he goes, again, hopefully it's Oklahoma, because it seems like this coaching staff is prioritizing in-state recruits a lot more than the past regime. And with Bates and Chavis, they're gonna make sure this kid is gonna be first or second round talent.
Is it Chavis or Chavis?
I thought it was Chavez for a while, but I'm just gonna start calling him Coach Miggy.
That's fine. Yeah, but like on a serious note, it is like having 16 and a half sacks and 56 tackles as a first year player. Like you're essentially doing that on just raw talent and ability. And obviously he's learning a little bit about the game, but you can't pick up the entire game in one season. So like the fact that he's doing that is he's kind of just running it on just talent and, drive and just being better than the kids in front of him. Whether it be bigger, stronger, faster, whatever the case may be. But, you put him with Coach Miggy and, and Schmitty and get him big and Venables will contribute, put his hands on him. And, that I'm kind of going to ride on your coattails here, Brum, and say like that, this is the one that Oklahoma's got to lock up.
Yeah, for sure. I would be extremely upset if he left for wherever school he went to. I don't know.
Like other coaches are literally stepping on the University of Oklahoma and saying, don't go there.
Yeah. And, I feel a lot more confident now with this coaching staff that we've got to keep a kid like him home, in Norman. The old staff.
Time we prioritize the kids in our own backyard before we go out to California. Yeah, but maybe the guy who was here before probably was recruiting for his current employer on Oklahoma's dime.
I would have been. I think that we would have had a good chance just because he would have been coached by Jamar Cain. And he's a pretty good recruiter. I mean, he's getting talent down to LSU already. So I think that would be the only reason he'd want to stick around if it was still the old coaching staff. But now, like you guys said, this coaching staff is set to start competing with, schools like Ohio State and A&M for defensive linemen with the coaching staff we have at that position.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting to watch, but I really think I mean, if I can see it, and I'm not an expert by any means, this coaching staff is going to be all over him this weekend and, for this recruitment. So it's exciting to get him on campus. It's probably like a 5-minute drive for him anyway. So it's not like he's traveling very far. So anyway, another guy that we're going to talk about is another local Oklahoma Preps star is Micah Tease. And if you guys haven't heard of him, he's the little brother of Miles Tease, former Sooner. He's a 5'11", 180-pound wide receiver from Booker T, Washington. He's a 4-star, number 163 overall, number 15 athlete in the 23 class. He's best friends with Gentry Williams because obviously they're both at Booker T. Micah Tease, he is he's a heavy OU lean. It seems to be OU. He just took a visit with Arkansas. I know he's visited Notre Dame.
I think it's Oklahoma or Notre Dame. It's going to come down to those two, and I think it is a heavy lean Oklahoma.
Yeah, and he goes to Booker T, which is a magnet school, so he's intelligent. So, I mean, Notre Dame's got a great, whatever program he wants to go to as far as education. But I feel like with his brother being a Sooner, being best friends with Gentry Williams, and Norman being right down the road, I'd imagine he was a Sooner fan growing up. And if he wasn't, by the time his brother got there, Jose, what do you think about him and his, what the OU should do with him?
He'll be exciting to watch and see where he goes over the next year. This receiver is different from the receivers that we have been recruiting, not just what the commits are, but just throughout the recruiting process so far. And we've seen the offers. He's the smallest one. It seems like receiver wise, we're trying to go 6'1" and taller, but this guy's got something special that they see in him. Maybe it is because they're prioritizing in-state, and that's why they want to make sure they always have communication with him. But I would imagine from how Venables speaks about his recruiting method, it all is determined on fit. both personality and depending on how he can see you fit in his offense or defense. And him and Lovey must see him fit perfectly in some way on this offense, because he's like 2 or 3 inches shorter than everyone else that's going to be in the wide receiver room by the time he gets there.
Yeah, and I mean, but yeah, again, just we I don't know, we just trust this. We trust this current coaching staff, I think, more than we did the other one. And obviously, if they see something, he's going to have a fit, and it's going to come down to us and Notre Dame. And with Gentry being here is going to help a lot, and the fact that Notre Dame sucks, as we mentioned on previous shows, is going to help a lot too. So I think he's going to end up a Sooner, and I think it's going to have a pretty productive career with us.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and getting a guy like him on campus, keep not letting him leave is huge. And so moving on to the next guy, we've got the leader, the glue guy of the 23 class, recent commit, Jackson Arnold. He's a 6'1", 195-pound quarterback out of Denton, Texas, number 72 overall and number 7 quarterback in the 23 class. He visited, 2 weeks ago? He visited, and then he committed about a week after. And, to get him back on campus, and he probably realizes, hey, I'm going to be the recruiter of this class. I need to be there. I need to be the face. I need to get these guys going. Like, as much, we don't want to talk about, Caleb Williams did a great job at that. And I think but
he on the bowling team.
Yeah, on the bowling team. No, but these kids have seen what these quarterbacks can do and what they should do, and getting your leader on campus to talk to all these guys in person, I think is huge. And I think, we've talked about Arnold. He's extremely talented. I'm happy to have him. I mean, when you get a guy like, a top 10 quarterback in the class, that's never a bad thing. So Jose, what do you think about having Arnold on campus and what he could do for this future class?
Yeah, similar to what you said, it's important for him to have already recognized the fact that he's just the automatic leader because he is the quarterback. And I think he's going to be a big part in how much Micah Tease puts Oklahoma in that final spot when he finally says, this is where I'm committing. Because if he doesn't have a good relationship with the quarterback, it's not end all be all, but having a good relationship with a guy throwing you the ball, probably pretty important to every wide receiver. At least having, being courteous to each other and knowing, their ticks, important. That kind of stuff is just based on chemistry. And if they feel like they could be good friends at this point in recruiting, it's going to play in Oklahoma's favor. And I mean, exactly like you said, the fact that he committed is important at this point, because now he is going to help the coaching staff recruit at least people on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I think Jackson Arnold's just good too. Like as a player, he's good. He's got good size. He's got good speed. I think he ran for 9 or 10 touchdowns last year on the ground. But yeah, the fact that he's here as a kid who's already committed, he knows he's coming here. It's essentially a business trip as we're talking about. Like it's essentially for this weekend, he's just another assistant coach recruiting everybody. Being like, hey, come play with me here. I'm pretty good. We're going to beat everybody because everybody else sucks. And we're going to win games that way. And I think, it's him being here on campus is big this weekend. And yeah, we're all excited for him.
Yeah, I agree. And, I'm glad he jumped on board when he did, because, not having that quarterback committed early, it's kind of a class with no bona fide leader. I'm not saying you have to be a leader. You don't have to be a quarterback to be a leader, but naturally that happens quite a bit. So we'll move on to another guy that Arnold could be throwing passes to, is Ashton Cozart. He's from Marcus High School in Flower Mound, Texas. He's he's in the 2023 class. He's number 167 overall, 4-star, number 23 wide receiver. And he's 6'3", 190. And, obviously us three, we follow recruiting like really, really in depth and really closely. And Cozart was kind of an afterthought for the previous coaching staff because of all the commits that they got at the wide receiver position. A rush of them. They had 3 studs at one point. OU did. And now Ennis and Lemon and whoever else I forget is gone. Well, DeAndre Moore's still there. So, but he's a running back type deal. But anyway, Cozart was kind of an afterthought, but he still was so determined about going to Oklahoma, or at least having some interest. He wasn't totally ruling it out to still come. And now obviously Lemon and Ennis have left, and now he's coming on campus. And I really think OU's got a great shot with him. And it's going to take a few visits, new staff, and kind of saying to him, like, don't take it as a slight from the previous staff. We think highly of you. Extremely talented, 6'3", huge frame, a guy that OU could definitely use. Brandon, what do you think about him?
I think just not only him, but all these players that are coming on campus, but I guess specifically with Cozart, is the fact that he stuck around and, didn't quit on Oklahoma or quit on his recruitment, kind of stayed determined to go there. Just speaks a lot, because, those other guys just clearly didn't commit to the university and committed to the guy who used to coach here, and jumped ship right away. Obviously, with the exception of DeAndre Moore, who he's truly committed to the program and excited to play with, Murray and some of the coaches that are already on staff and stuff. I think it says a lot about him, the fact that, and I think it says a lot about his want to play at Oklahoma, because he could have easily, been like, man, like, I'm pretty darn good, and they didn't want me at all. But I think he's smart enough to realize it was just that previous regime of idiots who didn't care. And Venables is going to build a team around guys he likes, and Cozart is clearly fitting that bill. And he's good. I mean, you mentioned his size. He's big. He's got offers from Alabama and all the big guys. It seems like Lincoln Riley just didn't do all his homework, or for some reason thinks that his 5'7" Malik Brown's going to be better. We'll see how it works out, but hopefully he puts on the crimson and cream.
Mentioned the Alabama offer, and what's cool, and I think partially the reason why he's still entertaining Oklahoma after potentially being disrespected by the previous coaching staff, is his lead recruiter at Alabama was Jay Valai. Sorry. It seemed like Valai was pretty much their Texas guy at Alabama, and that was more than likely he was hired because he can coach the cornerbacks, but this was definitely a big perk as to why, or probably a big reason why Venables wanted him so much, because we went almost a month without a defensive backs coach. We're pretty much just waiting for this guy to finish the national championship run. And once it was concluded, like, he was the immediate hire. So I'm assuming that his recruiting abilities are a big reason why he's got the position he is at right now. Because it seems like every time we talk about some kid from Texas that had an Alabama offer, Jay was his lead recruiter. So we're getting them up. And then on the other side, a guy that he probably knows is Nick Evers. They went to rival high schools. They probably, Flower Mound isn't a big place, so they probably hang out with kind of the same people. So they probably have a good relationship, or at least know each other a little bit. And that's a guy that's going to be throwing him the ball potentially. So having that connection already, and Evers being on campus already, who knows? This probably isn't going to be the last time he's there, and he's probably just going to go hang out in Norman every once in a while when he has a free weekend. Now that it's the off season, one of his friends is up there, potentially a school that he's going to attend. Why not go hang out with your buddy?
Yeah. And we talk about how the old staff kind of lost focus on recruiting kids in their own backyard, and that's totally different. I will say, Jose, you brought up a good point about Valai. That is one of the big reasons, from what I read, why OU wanted him. OU also kind of stopped recruiting the DFW area so hard. Before, that was a recruiting hotbed for Oklahoma. Not saying that OU never got any talent, with Riley being at the helm, but it wasn't to the same level as it was in previous years. And I think that's another area that Venables is going to try to really lock down. And somewhere that Texas A&M has really started going to in Alabama is that DFW area. It's a hotbed, but it's good to see, take care of your areas close to home before you branch out to California and Florida. Not saying you can't recruit kids like that, but just, you got to get your stuff in your get your kids in your backyard. But speaking of a guy that's out, in a different state, and this is someone I've never even heard of as far as on OU's radar, I feel like I follow it really closely, but I've never seen him. He tweeted out, but I believe I'm saying this, Knijeah Harris. He's a 6'3", 305-pound interior offensive lineman. He's at the IMG Academy. He's a 4-star, number 299 overall, number 18 interior offensive lineman in the 23 class. I feel like I'm reading a lot. I go over a lot of stuff as far as recruiting goes, but I haven't seen anything about him. And he tweeted out, I believe it was earlier today, so it would be yesterday if you're watching this video on Friday, that he's going to be in Norman this weekend. And, don't know a whole lot, but, he's 6'3", 305 pounds in high school. I know he's at the IMG Academy, so he's kind of like, college prep and a stud. I mean, he's got the size that you want. Coach B, getting him on campus, he was critical to keep. He has 25 offers. He has an offer from Alabama, Florida, Auburn, Florida State. So he's got all the big time program offers.
State, Notre Dame on it. He's got them all
of them. So I don't know a whole lot about him, but the fact that he kind of came out of the blue, I feel like I haven't seen him, and he's trying to come to campus, and he is coming to campus. I feel like that speaks volumes. Jose, do you have anything to say about Harris? We're going to have to dive deeper into him whenever, as we, watch it.
Yeah. He's got good frame. I think the cool thing about him coming is one, David Stone, guy that is in state right now, is transferring over to IMG Academy. I think he posted about it earlier this week, but
he was at Will Rogers Airport today.
Yeah. So, and then the fact that like you said, Brum, in our last video, Venables seems to really be prioritizing Florida of any, out of the immediate area. Florida is like the place that he's really trying to hit hard, and probably because he already has a lot of established relationships down there, being at Clemson previously. But IMG Academy is going to start. We're going to see a lot more kids entertain the possibility of coming to Oklahoma, not just because Venables is coming here and the relationship he probably has with that coaching staff down there, but with the fact that we're moving to the SEC, their parents, their immediate family, anyone that's kind of that wants to stay in the area or wants their family to be close enough to go watch them, we will be visiting, Gainesville, and we'll be going down there, or Alabama, those areas where their family can drive to. And at the end of the day, like you said, IMG is pretty much a smaller college for football, so it's good.
He's versatile.
Good pipeline to start creating.
He's listed as an IOL, just an interior offensive lineman. I think he has experience both at center and guard, which is never a bad thing to have a guy who can play multiple positions. He can fill in for if people get hurt. He gives himself the opportunity to start at multiple positions too, being able to play at multiple positions. I think he's a very top guy for me for this weekend, but I think this one's going to be kind of a fight to get to pull him out from. He's linked real warm to Miami, and some of those other SEC schools, or not that Miami's an SEC school, but he's linked to some of them, Alabama, Florida. I think he might want to stay closer to home, so that it's going to be one that we're going to fight for a little bit harder. But the fact that he's visiting at all means that there's at least a hint of interest there, and hopefully we can sell him on what we're building.
Yeah. I do think, Jose, you brought up a good point with OU joining the SEC. It's the IMG Academy in that area is going to become more and more of a pipeline for OU. Not that they're going to land everyone, but they will start landing more kids from that area. We'll move on to the next kid, probably the most disrespected kid in the Oklahoma preps. Football is Erik McCarty. He's 6'2", 180 pounds. He's listed as a running back. He's not ranked by 247 in the 2023 class out of McAlester, Oklahoma. And I think he will be very soon. He'll probably be a 4-star, by the end of the next season.
Start a 4-star in a season?
I think so. Here's the deal. His career, he's played in varsity on every year. He's ran for 4,014 yards. He's had 73 touchdowns. He's caught nearly 500 yards, scored 4 more touchdowns. He has some pick sixes. He has a forced fumble for touchdown. He plays on defense. Whether he's a running back at Oklahoma or not, it's most likely probably not. He'll probably play on the defensive side as a safety of some sort. I think he's probably one of the most underrated kids that I've seen. I mean, the stats, I know he plays at McAllister, but I mean, he is extremely talented. He's coming to campus this weekend. Brandon, what do you think about
He's a
McCarty?
football player is the most exciting part about him, as you just mentioned. Played everywhere, multiple pick sixes. Anybody who has almost 80 touchdowns in their football career through the 3 seasons of playing, I don't really care what level you're at. If you have 80 touchdowns playing against kids who should be, around, he's clearly a man amongst boys at McAllister High School, putting up numbers like that. And I just think anybody who puts up numbers like that, they're pretty damn good. I'm going to agree with you. I mean, you look at like Leighton Vander Esch played 8-man football. Zaven Collins played 8-man football. Yeah. So if you stand out that much, you're clearly pretty damn good. And I think Oklahoma's going to find a gem in this kid.
Yeah, I agree with Brandon about the gem. He's clearly a guy that people are overlooking, and the stats speak for themselves. And I think if he does end up coming to Oklahoma, he's going to have that similar hype and excitement from the fan base as Jaron did this last offseason. Like Jaron, we never really heard about him until Venables moved over. And then after that, it was like, who are we getting? And it always seemed to be, Jaron just wanted to play for Venables. And then once he officially committed, like people were super excited. We had just maybe known about him, like as a just focus on being part of Oklahoma's potential recruiting for this year, like a few weeks after Venables was hired, but nothing before then. So that's the kind of hype that I think Erik is going to get if he does decide to come to Oklahoma, which it seems like he will. He's a legacy. His dad played back in the 80s. So that he probably has that connection, grew up an Oklahoma fan. I would assume, don't know this for a fact, but I would assume this is probably up there in his dream schools to go to, if not his dream school overall.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. So basically that's the list as of right now that we know
Big
of.
weekend, another huge weekend.
4 stars all over the place. I know McCarty's not ranked, but he's better than what he's good. So recently OU's picked up a transfer in Tyler Guyton. He's 6'6", 312 pound offensive tackle. He's from TCU, but originally from Maynard, Texas. He was a 3-star coming out of high school. He played only 1 year at TCU last year and 8 games as a backup. Offensive tackle, he's going to provide some great depth and compete for a starting position, and it's good to add some depth. Do you guys have anything to add?
12 with Coach B is all I needed to hear.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's glad we need bodies and we need talented players. Another guy, Gracen Halton, we've talked about him on previous podcasts. He visited last weekend to OU. He was once committed to Oregon. He just decommitted this week from Oregon. It looks like it is moving in the Sooners' direction. Nothing 100%, but just reading, kind of the optics and some various other things, I'd imagine you're going to see Halton become a Sooner. He's a great talent, 4-star defensive lineman. Yeah, thick legs. Jose loves the thick legs.
You got to measure him.
Yeah, every time.
The people have asked.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that he's not staying at Oregon, and he backed us up there in a week.
Yeah. So the last little topic, it's going to be short and sweet. Gentry Williams, I will stand here and say I was wrong. I thought he was probably going to leave. We were all 3 of us. I do think though that having Venables and Valai coming in, that solidified his commitment to Oklahoma. I always felt like he was still iffy with Oklahoma, even with the previous regime, just because he was going to be a Sooner because his parents went there and he grew up a Sooner fan. I feel like now he wants to be a Sooner after his official visit last weekend. And I think he wants, like he's bought in. Do you guys have anything to say about him? Or, what you think about him now kind of, confirming his commitment?
I can't say that I had the same feeling after his commitment, but after Lincoln Riley and the rest of the staff left, that left with him he seemed to be like immediately ready to go somewhere else, because I think after like 48 hours of Lincoln leaving, he already had Arkansas going to visit him. I think Lincoln Riley went to visit him. Venables went to visit him right after he was hired. So he was definitely a priority for Oklahoma, but I just think there was, like every other player, there was uncertainty and they didn't know what was going to happen. So now that he knows what the vision is and where he fits, and he's impressed by and he likes what's happening, then now I don't think that anything's going to sway him. He'll just have to sign that piece of paper next weekend.
Yep. I'm just excited to have him, re-solidifying, almost recommitted. Just, I think he's going to be a pretty darn good player at Oklahoma for a long time.
Yeah, I'm glad he's committed, because now you've got Gentry Williams, and then you've got Jaden Rowe and Robert Spears Jennings. You've got 3 studs in the Tulsa area to help recruit for the 23 class and eventually the 24 class. You lock up Micah Tease, hopefully, with their influence. And I think this is a domino, effect down the road. Yeah, you can't let a guy like him, with his parents being Sooners as well, out of your own backyard. So that's all we've got. Brandon, do you have we already had a beginning video challenge. You want to do the end of video challenge, the same thing?
We can do that. Or we can, which one of these kids visiting, as Brum mentioned, who's your favorite commit coming to campus this weekend? Or commit,
for sure.
Recruit. I say
for sure.
Oklahoma, but we'll see.
Yeah. So like the video, subscribe, and follow us on Twitter, Spotify, Instagram, all at 2 Plane Sports, and we'll catch you next time.